Hello and welcome to The Big Question. I'm Vikram Oza. After years of those negotiations that have taken place, the India-UK trade deal finally going live. Today, the 15th of July, 2026, it has come to life. So it is being billed as one of India's most ambitious trade agreements with a developed economy. And here is the big headline. 99% of Indian exports to the UK will now get duty-free access. 99%. That means a potential boost for Indian textiles, for apparel, for engineering as well, for marine products. Yes, footwear, also gems and jewelry. All of these get an impetus. The Indian government believes that this deal can help take bilateral trade between the two countries to $120 billion by the year 2030. But trade deals are all about give and take, aren't they? India has agreed to gradually cut tariffs on British products like Scotch whisky, like gin, also premium cars. So will consumers get cheaper imports here in India? Or will domestic industry face stiffer competition? Has India opened its market just enough to win big on exports while India protects those sensitive sectors like agriculture, like dairy? These are the sensitive sectors. The question also is, has Britain secured the bigger long-term prize, which is greater access to one of the world's fastest growing major economies? It's a big, real win as far as UK is concerned when you consider the size of the Indian market. And then there is the bigger question, can this deal create jobs? Can it attract investments? Can it strengthen India's manufacturing ambitions and make India a stronger alternative to China in the global supply chains? Or will the non-tariff barriers, the compliance costs, the future carbon taxes, will these factors blunt the gains? Which is why tonight we're asking this question. Even as we see the trade deal between United Kingdom and India come alive today, now the bigger question is, who is the bigger winner? And that's why we're asking our panel tonight. Let's take it across to them and let me introduce you to our panel this evening. We have Lord Karan Bilimoria joining us. He is the chair of the International Chamber of Commerce UK, also a member of the House of Lords, and he is co-chair of the India All-Party Parliamentary Group in the UK Parliament. And of course, we'll have him join us in just a few seconds. With him, of course, is Vijay Kalantri, president of the All India Association of Industries and chairman of the World Trade Center here in Mumbai. Saurabh Sanyal also with us, Secretary General at industry body Assocham. Gulzar Didwania is partner at Deloitte India. He joins us on the panel along with Mr. R.K. Vij, President at the Textile Association of India. Gentlemen, so glad you could join us on The Big Question. It's a momentous occasion now that we are seeing this entire deal come alive. Lord Bilimoria, let me come to you first since you're with us. Both governments are calling this a landmark victory. India gets duty-free access for 99% of our exports, and the UK gets unprecedented access to a $4 trillion economy. If you look at the deal in totality, who has negotiated the better deal? What would you say?
This is the biggest free trade agreement that the UK has conducted on its own since leaving the European Union. We have struck free trade agreements with Australia, with New Zealand, and now, apart from the 66 free trade agreements we rolled over from the European Union, which we now have in our own right, this is the big deal. And we started negotiating this deal in January 2022 when I was president of the Confederation of British Industry. It took 3.5 years for it to be concluded last summer, exactly a year ago in July, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi came over to the UK, to the UK Prime Minister's country residence, Chequers, and I flew across. I was abroad at the time to be present for the signing of this agreement after 3.5 years of negotiation in my current role as chair of the International Chamber of Commerce in the UK. So this is really, really good news, but we've got to keep this in context. It's not about who's done better or who's got it. This is a deal that is beneficial to both countries. And we put this into perspective. At the moment, the trade between the UK and India in goods and services bilaterally is just under 50 billion pounds, 50 billion pounds. And India is only the 11th largest trading partner of the UK. How can India, the fastest growing major economy in the world, with the UK and India being the 5th and 6th largest economies in the world, have India as only the 11th largest trading partner. It should be one of the handful of largest trading partners of the United Kingdom. And I believe as a result of this free trade agreement, this comprehensive economic and trade agreement, trade between our two countries by 2030, within 5 years, will double to 100 billion pounds. That is the effect that this deal will have. And on top of the trade doubling, you'll have an increase in investment bilaterally between both companies. You've got to remember the firm Grant Thornton provides a tracker report of Indian companies investing in the UK and UK companies investing in India. And you can see year by year the growth in number of companies, the growth in investment, the growth in number of jobs created as a result of the investment in each other's countries that the bilateral investment is creating. And on top of that, you have the educational links with Indian students making up the largest international students to UK universities, which are the best in the world, along with the United States of America. And on top of that, you have mobility of professionals, increasingly so with Indian services being provided in the UK, and UK services, and UK is the second biggest services exporter in the world, provided to India to the benefit of both countries. So, and on top of that, you have the Indian diaspora, of which I'm a proud member, nearly 2 million strong out of 70 million people in the UK, the most successful, and I say this with pride, ethnic minority community in the UK by far, reaching the very top in politics and business in every area.
So, Lord Bilimodia, when you say that 11th largest partner, trading partner for the United Kingdom, how quickly that changes with this trade agreement remains to be seen. But as a proud diaspora of India, right now, when we see the Indian industry perspective as well, and perhaps I can go across to Saurabh Sanyal for this, Mr. Sanyal, you think this is the first trade agreement in years where India is genuinely playing to its strengths? We are opening our markets for exports while we are protecting our sensitive sectors back home?
Thank you so much for inviting me. I think the time has come for a fresh momentum and commencing a new chapter in India-UK bilateral relations with the free trade agreement coming into effect today, that is the 15th of July 2026. It is in fact a historical and a momentous day for both the major economies, where both the GDPs are more than USD 4 trillion, and they have struck a chord for a broader horizon where India is aiming to be a developed economy by 2047, while the UK is looking positively for greater trade, lower tariffs, and strategic partnerships with India. Now, just to talk about the major things that are going to happen, as Lord Bilimodia has already pointed out, that from the USD, US dollars 58 billion in 2025-26, we will be going by 2030, our trade will increase to USD 120 billion, 100 to 120 US dollars. And this is ushering in a new era of economic cooperation between India and the UK. The 99% market access has been provided by India to UK. And similarly, 89.5% market has been provided to UK by India. So this itself goes to prove that both the trading partners are going to be in a win-win situation, and by 2030, we are going to increase our trade to $120 billion.
So $120 billion, if that is the kind of target that we are working towards, what about textiles and apparel? Those tariffs in the UK have fallen now, Mr. Vij. From 12%, they've fallen to 0 now. For a sector that employs millions of Indians, how does this deal help?
Thank you very much. I'm first congratulate to the Piyush Goyalji, the Commerce Minister. From the last 3-4 years, they are working on the FTAs, and thank for our Honorable Prime Minister making the open economy. So I'm just telling you that from now, as on today, the total market of UK market is around 21 to 22 billion. They export apparel and garment. Out of that, approximately 1.3 billion to 1.4 billion comes from India, and they export around 0.4 to 0.5 billion to India. Now, after coming this over the duty tariff was 8% to 12%. Now it becomes 0% on the 99%, Now, example, from a t-shirt, if from India a t-shirt is going at a $10 and there was a 12% of a duty, $1.2 was the duty, so $11.20 was there. Now it will be only $10 will be there. So this will be more benefited, and we hope that in next 3 years, over this 1.3 to $1.4 billion will become touch to 1.9 to $2 billion, and next 5 years it will be doubled. And
But
now,
yes. But Mr.
now,
Vij, I wanted to ask you, this is not about competition alone with local British producers for Indian apparel and textiles, but it's also against countries like China and Bangladesh and Vietnam. So I'm asking you if you think this deal is genuinely going to shift market share towards India.
no, I'm just telling you the major benefit will be there. As on today, we were not able to compete with Bangladesh, Vietnam, and China. Now, with the coming the duty down, it is a very open space will be there. Now
Okay.
we will be competitive to China, this Bangladesh and India. The major benefit will be there for the Indian industry. The Indian industry, because the man-made fiber will go, garment will go, over Tirupur unit will grow. Tirupur is the t-shirt. Panipat is home textile, Ludhiana is t-shirt fabric, Surat is fabric and garment is there, Coimbatore is the fiber filament is there. So our whole DTY, FDY unit will have a more export, then the unit will grow, and then main time, mean it is a very good thing. Or the Bharat Textile Fair has started only yesterday.
It has.
And with this 15th of July, people are coming to take or to see our product. There are a lot of product we will export to UK. This will be create more jobs. This we were hoping from the last 3 years, and this is the one of the
Now
biggest.
it's finally happening. Now it's finally happening. On the 15th of July 2026, it's finally coming into motion. But Mr. Didwania, bilateral trade now projected to touch $120 billion by 2030. You think that's realistic, or do you think these projections, which are headline grabbing, do they often underestimate the kind of challenges when it comes to implementation after the signing ceremony is all done?
For asking a very relevant question. So I think we need to actually see what it takes for us to double the bilateral trade between the two countries. Indian exports and UK and India bilateral trade has been growing at a CAGR of around 6% in last 5 to 6 years, right? And therefore today we are at around $60 billion, give and take. For us to reach to $120 billion, we at least require to grow this trade by over 15% CAGR year-on-year basis. So that's I would say 2.5%, 2.5 times increase in the bilateral trade. And therefore we first of all need to map it to different sectors, the sector by sector. So for example, we talked about the textile export and textile trade with UK. So we have to go sector by sector. And therefore, every, I would say, sectoral representative trade chambers also need to work with the exporters as well as importers to make sure that how do we double the trade. Otherwise, it's very difficult to reach the ambitious plan of $120 billion. So that's one point I wanted to say.
Yes.
Second, on implementation, the beauty of this trade deal is self-certified origin declaration. So far, whether it is FTA with any other countries that we have right now, for us to get the benefit, whether on import or on export, we need to go to the government department for origin declaration. Now, this is the first time India is implementing self-certified origin declaration in India-UK FTA, and therefore it is a very important step towards trade facilitation. So I'm hoping that this is going to also increase the utilization of the bilateral trade, because currently some reports suggest that the utilization of FTAs by India is nearly roughly around 50 to 60%, whereas in the developed countries like Europe, it is over 90%.
Correct.
And therefore, the utilization itself needs to increase. And the reason for that low utilization could have been the processes around it. And therefore, more awareness with all the trade associations, with exporters and importers, as well as the implementation is the key. So I'm hoping that this is a very, very, very important step.
So yes, absolutely. It's one thing to have a deal, but for businesses to make best utilization, like you say, of the opportunities that the deal presents itself with is going to be an important ask. But Lord Bilimoria, the critics are saying that India gave away too much on the premium imports. The supporters of the deal are saying that Britain gave far more by opening almost its entire market. So when you look at the balance sheet of concessions, who has given more?
You've got to look at these free trade agreements as being facilitators of markets opening up. And the more you open up to each other, the more you facilitate exports, imports, and investments both ways. And this cannot be a question of one country winning and another country losing. Both countries win in their own way from these. As you very correctly said, the UK has reduced duties on almost everything down to zero, 99% of items. India's reduced 90% of items down to zero. Even the high tax items like Scotch whiskey from 150% duty is going to gradually come down to 40%. The cars, 100% duty is going to eventually come down to 10%, albeit on a quota basis. These are huge differences that make items more affordable to the Indian consumer and to the UK consumer and make exports more competitive for both countries as well. And then you've got to look at the point of, look at the spectrum of this deal. It's a very comprehensive deal. You've got not only tariffs and reduction of trade barriers, but you've got movement of people, the movement of professionals.
You mentioned,
the ability
but on that point,
double pay taxes.
But
then you've got also digital growth. You've got easier access for SMEs, for small and medium-sized enterprises. You've got science and technology.
Sure.
You've got financial and business services. You've got healthcare and life sciences. I mean, this is aerospace, manufacturing. It's absolutely fantastic, the range of areas covered by this deal, which benefits both countries.
But on that point that you were making about the reduction of duties on premium British cars from 110% to 10%, over a decade, of course, this will happen, but also the slashing of whiskey tariffs from 150 to 40% over a period of time. Mr. Didwania, you say this is a sensible trade-off, or do you think it could hurt domestic industry?
No, I think first of all, I don't think it could hurt the domestic industry because there is a quota. So on the import of the duty reduction benefit that is offered to CBUs, completely built unit cars, it is given based on a quota system, right? So first year, let's say around 20,000 cars moving to 24,000 year two, and so on and so forth. So it's a gradual tariff quota based reduction. And again, premium segment cars. It is not going to impact the lower cars, which mostly, I would say 95% of the people in India use. So yes, luxury car market, this is definitely, even all the big automakers are eyeing this as an opportunity to enter the premium products into India. And once they test the market, they would start manufacturing them in India. So I would say that the offering of a reduced rate of customs duty on the cars is just, it will help open up the market for the luxury car, premium car segment in India. So that's on the car. On the again, the import of the reduction in custom duty on the alcoholic beverages. This is something that India needs to understand, that the benefit is right now offered on very premium brand or very premium and highly priced alcoholic beverages. And therefore, again, the market segment is very, very different, very, very limited. But there are companies who will then also make versus buy decision, that should we set up a facility in India altogether, or versus we continue to supply these from UK. So two different answers on two different sectors.
Yes.
But ultimately, it is the consumer who is going to drive the trend of whether the UK should invest into India, into manufacturing of all these products or not.
But also, when Lord Bilimoria was speaking, he spoke about the labor mobility factor. Could India have secured more on that count? You think this social security relief, should perhaps India have pushed further in easing movement for Indian professionals, you say?
Well, it is one of its kind, right? We don't have similar clauses in any other deals so far, and therefore it is one of its kind. UK also is testing how it is going to take place, and I think it's a very welcome move, because they're trying to avoid the double social security paid in India versus social security paid in US. They're trying to offset the two and make sure that it is not a costlier affair. And therefore, it's a first of its kind move. One has to wait and watch how it unfolds, but definitely it is going to improve the mobility. And therefore, we cannot
Yes.
say,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I wanted to take that across, the point about social security exemption to Saurabh Sanyal as well. Do you think social security exemption alone is expected to save Indian professionals and companies more than 4,000 crore rupees? Is that a significant breakthrough, you think, or does it fall short of what Indian industry has been seeking?
So it is the preferential access which will improve, as I believe, and the India's competitiveness will strengthen the value chains and generate large scale employment for the Indian labor force as well as for the MSMEs to do business there. So more importantly, India has secured a protection for a majority of its steel exports to the UK under the India UK Free Trade Agreement, and with 85% of outbound shipments remaining in outside UK's steel safeguard measures. So therefore, this free tariff access and preferential access of the Indian labor force going to UK will have definitely a great advantage for India.
What about the services? They account for a major part of India's competitive advantage when you consider what we do globally. But has India secured enough for IT, Mr. Didwania, for IT, for consulting, for professional services, or you think this agreement has still tilted towards goods more than services?
See, I think as Lord Bilimoria mentioned that this is just a mechanism to improve the bilateral trade between the two economies.
Sure.
Right now in UK, I mean UK's FDI into India is just over $24 billion, right? Which is 1% of the total FDIs, outbound FDIs of UK. Now, UK is now looking into GCCs and also IT and ITS and financial services sectors related activities to be done out of India. So this is just a measure of a facilitation, increasing the trade between the two companies, since there are no taxes between the on services, and therefore mainly people talk about the duty, customs duty reduction, etc. on trade of goods, but including services comprehensively, whether it is mobility, whether it is IPR rights, is clearly a sign where it is going to increase the investment investment from UK into India as well as from India into UK. So I think it's a win-win for both the countries.
Vijay Kalantri is also joining us from the All India Association of Industries, the chairman of the World Trade Center in Mumbai. Good to have you as well, Mr. Kalantri. You know, India has kept agriculture and dairy. It has been largely kept outside the agreement, and we've included safeguards in sensitive sectors. So you think the negotiators have successfully protected the vulnerable domestic industries?
Yeah, this was the first thought which came to all of us while negotiating, that dairy products and our agricultural products should be safeguarded. And we should not get the dumping of those material into India at a cheaper rate, which is less than what we have. What happened, earlier imports when we were doing from China and all, because of non-anti-dumping duty, we suffered, and many of the MSME industries closed down. So this is a good deal, well negotiated, and very balanced deal. You will see that the trade and investment will grow 20 to 30% in next 3 to 5 years, because we are not looking at short term, but in long term, we are beneficial in the trade, and we have more opportunities. Then UK could also be used as a hub for European countries and America and other countries for exports. Because once we get the access to UK market, we can supply our goods and raw materials there, and we can package there and send it to various other countries. So those opportunities people have not seen, but that will be tremendous opportunity which will come across.
But Mr. Kalantri, a lot of excitement surrounds exports. Could the bigger story actually be investment, which is being spoken about? Will this agreement materially improve investor confidence, bring more British capital into India?
No, UK has been in forefront for financial center. After US, UK is the second financial center. And many of us have seen that the investment, any big deals has happened through UK and in UK. And many of the Indians who are heading many of the funds, so they will look at India very seriously once we have good projects in place. And as you know, as India has been moving forward, ease of doing business, our PLI scheme, various Viksit Bharat, many of these schemes have been well accepted by the investors. And under these schemes, we will see that the investment comes in technology, in AI, in innovation. We will defense, automobile. Today they are talking about exports.
Right.
Tomorrow we will think of setting up factories in India to manufacture, like others have done it.
Right.
BYD, MG, and all have come and they have set up a factory. So now they will also do a factory. So we'll get a lot of jobs for our employment to our workers and all. And many, we will again become a re-exporter to many countries out from here.
You think we will be able to re-export from here. But if I were to give you 6 parameters, and perhaps Lord Bilimoria, I can come to you first. Exports, jobs, investment, consumer benefit, and strategic influence. If these are the 6 parameters, that if you're looking at this deal 5 years from now, which one of these will determine whether we've had success with the FTA between India and UK?
Well, actually, every single one of them that you can measure. The good thing about what you've just said is you can measure all these things very precisely. I mean, look at the jobs, for example. If you look at the UK companies in India at the moment, there are almost 1,000 UK companies. Grant Thornton, the firm, produces a tracker report both ways. UK investment in India, India investment in the UK. We just look at the UK investments in India at the moment, almost 1,000 companies. These companies are growing at almost 50% a year, and they've created over 500,000 jobs. I mean, this is fantastic. And I think with the CETA, this is only going to grow. And if you look at the other way around, Indian companies in the UK, there are almost 2,000 Indian companies invested in the UK. They have created almost over 200,000 jobs. So just a job creation as a result of investment both ways, you're talking in total approaching 1 million jobs, and that's only going to increase. You'll be able to measure exports. You'll be able to measure every one of these aspects.
So you think we'll be able to measure each and every one of these parameters going ahead from here? Since I'm running out of time, Gulzar Didwania, I want one-word answer. Today, who emerges the bigger winner from the India-UK trade deal? Is it India? Is it the UK?
I think it's a win-win for both. You are asking at different time, but the answer is the same. It is a win-win for both the countries. Idea is to double the trade between both the economies, and I'm pretty sure the Kagar, aspirational Kagar of 15% can be achieved if we track each and every metric in a different way, in a minute manner.
Well, this deal is clearly far bigger than cheaper whiskey or luxury cars. That's a given. The real test is now whether India can convert unprecedented market access into exports, into jobs and investment as well. That agreement is done. Now the hard work of execution begins, and it's always about the implementation. My thanks to Lord Bilimoria, Vijay Kalantri, Saurabh Sanyal, Gulzar Didwania and RK Vij. Thank you very much for joining us with your insights. So, as we've said, trade deals by themselves, they don't deliver the results. What you really need is for businesses to find the opportunities and build on them. And that's what this FTA is all about. Will we be able to do that with the United States, with the European Union? That remains to be seen, but it's work in progress. I'm Vikram Oza with a big question. Thanks for joining us.